Every person has a journey, a reason for being who they are. Have you ever looked at someone and wondered, who really is this person? How did they get here? What's their story? Well, that's why this podcast was created, to listen to other people's life stories. Welcome to the My Story podcast. I'm your host, Ari. Welcome back, guys, to the My Story podcast. Thank you so much for the love, the support throughout these past weeks. Today, we have yet another story, and I'm really excited because with me, I have Jeffrey Bullard.
Oh my gosh, stop. I have Ari here. What? How are you?
I'm good. How are you? I'm so excited. I've watched Jeffrey work, but I'm excited now I get to know him a little bit more through this podcast and know his story. I only know he's a SEMO graduate. He is an anchor right now, and that story within itself, it's amazing because you're so young and all that stuff, but we'll get into that in a minute. So can you tell us a bit about yourself, like an overview, a little bit of your last name, maybe?
Yeah, so my last name is Bullard. It's definitely interesting. My dad and I share the same name.
Okay.
So, growing up, This is so bad.
Okay.
I want to stop. No, I'm sorry.
No, continue.
I can't now. I never told him this. So we have the same name. So whenever something would happen with my phone or he'd turn off service, I would call Verizon and say, well, I'm Jeffrey Bullard. And I technically wasn't lying.
You are not lying.
No. And so I get myself service again or Wi-Fi.
So he can't punish you.
He'd be like, how did this turn back on?
Oh, that's funny.
I'm not a fraud. I promise, guys. Not a fraud.
It is your name.
Yes.
It is your name. So you're not lying. You're not a fraud.
No, I am very blessed. I am from Woodlawn, Illinois. That is about an hour, 50 minutes from Cape Girardeau. And I grew up about, for context, that's about 50-ish minutes from St. Louis, Missouri.
Okay.
So my dad actually went to college at SEMO and graduated, went into law enforcement, and he loved Cape Girardeau. I can remember growing up taking trips out here to go see the river, to go eat at his favorite restaurants, and just tour the campus. Cardiac Hill, oh my gosh. I grew up walking on that, and it was never got easier.
You grew up walking up Cardiac Hill.
We tried to visit, I'd say every other couple years we would go here and just tour the campus because it's a very special place to my dad. And it was really special being able to tell him that I wanted to go to SEMO because it's a place he holds so near to his heart. And so you have a Jeffrey Bullard who graduated from SEMO, is currently a sheriff back home of the county that he's in. And now you have a Jeffrey Bullard who graduated from SEMO who is working in Cape Girardeau. And so it's a really special bond that we share. And me and my dad are very close, along with my mom too. My mom is also from Woodlawn, Illinois, where I am, where I'm originally from, and she works at this furniture store out there. So, a furniture store sells furniture, sells home decor, and let me say, I got to work with her too, which was so cool and so interesting to be a part of. Actually, getting to work with her in a place that I grew up in.
Okay,
I grew up staying after school with her at this furniture store, and then eventually got to work there with her. It was special.
So it's interesting that with both your parents, you have such a big connection. Like right now, you're working in a place that's very special to your father, but also got the experience to just share a job experience with your mom.
Yeah.
Which is a great connection, actually. So can you talk me a little bit through how did you decide to be a news anchor, get into news? Because you said your dad is mostly into like police force. How did you drift and not be that same route? I'm just curious.
I love you, Dad. I love you, Dad, so much. But I always knew that I didn't want to necessarily be in law enforcement. I knew that wasn't right for me. I loved going to theater and show choir and singing at church and stuff like that. And I love that kind of stuff. Didn't really know what I wanted to do whenever I got to college. I started off as, I believe, human resources and went to, I think, Spanish education, went to business management because I had gone to college while I was in high school and got a certificate in like entrepreneurship and stuff like that because I loved selling things. Selling things is one of my favorite things to do, which is odd. But I ended up going back to college, wasn't feeling human resources, wasn't feeling really what I was doing. And one of my bosses on campus was like, well, what about mass media? And I was like, yeah, I've always wanted to work at a TV station. I just didn't think that was possible for me. I didn't think that was something that I could do. I for some reason, it was just never something that I had in my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
And I got my current employer's information through one of my bosses, and I sent just an email out to my current boss and was like, "Hi, this is me. Are you looking for an intern?" And he got back to me so quickly. I think it was within the next couple of days, I actually ended up touring KFVS and getting hired as an intern, the first one post-pandemic. So it was very incredible. I had just finished my sophomore year in college whenever I got hired as an intern. So I started working and I got myself involved, and eventually I got hired on as a junior in college. And so I was working as a full-time MMJ, and then eventually got to be a full-time anchor of a 3:00 show last year. And it has just been such a dream come true. It's hard to put into words until you actually sit down and you actually talk to somebody else.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not...
Because when you explain it, it sounds so unreal, yet it's so special that someone took the chance to like train you and give you the opportunity to like explore that dream you have.
It's really hard and to sometimes put in the words because people are like, "Oh yeah, like hi, like I see you on the TV," and it's like, "Oh yeah, you do."
Oh yeah, you do.
Oh
you
yeah,
do know
hi.
me.
And I always go up and I shake their hands. I'm like, "Thank you so much for watching. Oh my gosh, what's your name?" Because I think it's so cool.
It is, because one time I heard you say like, "Oh, I grew up watching this person on the TV."
Yes.
And to think now that someone is growing up watching you on TV, it's also another aspect to seeing it.
I've never thought about that until now. I have never thought about that till now.
But it's also a beautiful thing because you're living your dream, and maybe also you're influencing a lot of people with your energy, what you do. Because I've seen your show, and you always like I have never would have thought that you have never ever thought beforehand to go into news.
Mm-mm.
Because now I couldn't imagine you doing anything else. I mean, I'm pretty sure you're great in whatever you do, but you're so great on TV. You live it so profoundly with so much energy.
I appreciate that. That's very kind of you to say.
No, I for real mean it. And that's why I imagine like kids maybe growing up watching you, wanting to be like that person. That's so amazing, and your story is so great. So going more into that, into your story, what are some hardships that maybe you faced that have, because you always seem like I just said, so energetic and so happy, but what have you gone through to like decide I'm gonna be like this? Or have you just always been like so energetic and just wanting to be the best version of yourself every day?
Happiness is such a choice. Life throws so many curveballs at you, and it's about getting up every single time. I grew up incredibly bullied. I was made fun of. I was told to kill myself. I was hit by people in school because they didn't like me. They would call me several inappropriate names. They would make reasons not to like me. And I never quite understood that. It was always something that I never, ever fit in growing up. Whenever I was young, like 2 or 3, when everybody's friends, like that was great. But grade school into high school was really rough. It made me realize that I have to be the one to uphold myself. I was very bullied. I can remember in high school specifically, it got so bad that I wouldn't go to school. I would just lay in bed and I would be so sad. And it wasn't until I had something happened to me with my health that I ended up in the Children's Hospital in St. Louis.
Wow.
And after that had happened, it was almost like, wow, you only have one life. You got to make the most of it. At the time, I was working at Cracker Barrel, one of my favorite places ever. I worked there for 5 years, and I was on track to be a manager. I was actually, at the age of 19, I'm so blessed, I was able to be a manager, which was so crazy at that age. And I was driving an hour away to go do it. It was so cool. But after that had happened, it was almost like I need to do something else. Like this, I think there's something more for me. I got to college at SEMO. I made the decision to go to SEMO. And I had a really hard time making friends. I think it was from what I experienced in high school that I had a really hard time trusting people.
Past traumas, type thing.
Yeah. A lot of and I do have great friends now. And I did have some great friends in high school who I'm so appreciative of. They stuck up for me and helped me be here today because we're all still friends. But I got to college and it was really lonely. It was pandemic. I didn't feel comfortable being around a lot of other people because we didn't know anything about what was going on at the time. And I had a really hard time making friends. And to this day, I'm so blessed with great friends, especially Cassie. Her name's Cassie. She's become one of my closest friends. I get to work with her every day. It's incredible. But
she does a show with you.
Yeah, she does a show with me, which is so odd. We were talking about this too before the show. Have you ever just looked at somebody and thought, we're going to be friends?
Yeah.
We're friends. And so now she's stuck with me.
On. Yeah.
But another hardship I would say, and I don't really talk about this a lot just because I've never really felt the need to bring it up or anything. But like I have divorced parents.
Okay.
So whenever I was probably 11 or 12, my parents decided to split. They got a divorce. And at the time, it was something that was so frowned upon, so looked down upon. And kids at school would make fun of me so much for it. It was honestly terrible. But my parents are such great people. It was so hard for me to understand what was going on because I was having issues at school. I was having issues at home. And it was really hard to be a positive, upbeat person when you're going through something like that.
It is. It really is. Especially on a preteen, it goes hard because that's a tough age to be in.
Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, a lot of things, and a lot of things already don't make sense.
Yeah.
So, like, add that on, it must have been really hard. So, what made you change your mindset?
Well,
I know you just said like after you
it was definitely after the Children's Hospital. Being in there for
what age was that in?
Gosh, I was maybe 17.
Okay.
17, maybe just turned 18.
Okay.
Yeah. Ever since that, it was really it's like, okay, this is sink or swim. You got to do what you want to do for you. And especially rejection was something that I battled so much growing up. Never felt like I could fit in. And being able to do it for myself, I don't know if there's really a specific moment. I mean, I can think of moments where it's like, okay, well, yeah, this helped me get to where I am because I went through an experience. But I think it was just really just a light bulb moment where it was like, okay, rejection is just redirection.
Oh, that's a good thing. Rejection is just redirection.
I was not meant to be the most popular person in school. And that was a really hard pill to swallow because I wanted to be everybody's friend. I wanted to get along with everybody. And I still to this day, because I'm still a youngin', I'm still a kiddo.
We still kind of all do.
That's the people pleaser in me. I think at some point, most people are people pleasers.
Yeah, but how did you, in your specific case, get through that I want to make friends issue? Because I heard you mention in college, it was kind of still like remembering those past experience and not wanting to relive them.
Yeah.
So how did you get like into having a bit more friends and all that stuff?
Really, this is so odd. So I'm walking by myself to Starbucks and on campus, and we have this woman who, I can't remember the name of her now. She was screaming about her religion. On one of the public areas where they go. And she was absolutely going crazy, had all kinds of different props and stuff, bizarre. I was wearing a Margaritaville shirt. And she goes, "You look like you are going to sin because of this shirt that you're wearing." And I was like, oh gosh. And so I got scared because she was yelling at me. It was like 8 a.m.
Wow.
And so I booked it in the Starbucks, and I literally ran into this girl who looked oddly familiar. And we just started looking at each other, and we're like, hi, where are you from? And we started talking to each other where we're from. We were neighbors.
What?
Neighbors. Yeah. So small world. And so we started talking, and that is how I started letting myself have friends. She was really the first one that kind of helped me open up a little bit. And then I kind of started meeting her friends, and I ended up meeting some of her friends' friends, and then it just kind of kept going. And then I found my set of people who I was around the most.
Awesome. So I had someone here mention that it's important also to have your people. Like, how would you now describe having these friends help you out through life and every day? Because sometimes, and I've heard this a lot, we trying to avoid past traumas and relive them, but we miss the chance of having someone there, friends that will actually build you up. Can you talk more about those friendships now, and how do you see friendship now?
That's really hard. I have a hard time sometimes understanding with friends or new people in general what their intentions are. I think, you can't control other people, but you can control how you behave yourself. I really struggle with recognizing, what are their intentions with me? Are they wanting to be my friend because of this reason or this reason? And it just kind of spirals, and it's a really dark hole that you end up in sometimes, because anxiety does that. Anxiety is just such a gross thing that many people live with, and it's like, I want to throw it out a window.
Yeah, just ugh.
But I think, for me personally speaking, you meet the right people, and you know it, and you can be authentically yourself and not hold back a single thought, and you are who you are around them. You just meet somebody like that. It's so odd how it happens. I feel like, how they have the cat distribution system where it's like a random cat comes up and it's like, okay, you're mine. I feel like that's how it's been with some of my friends. It's kind of like, okay, yep, you're my friend.
Yeah.
I don't know what that says about me. But
no, it's odd to describe it like that. That's why I'm laughing. But yeah, it is kind of like that. Because I do have now some friends, and it kind of was like that. Well, we kind of were pushed into being friends because we studied together. But I do understand what you're saying. I have one question. I asked this on my socials today or this week. If you could ask or give advice to your younger self, what would you say? Now knowing and having this mentality versus what you were going through, or what you're living now versus what you went through back then.
You will be okay. And to keeping on.
Keeping on.
Keeping on. I have been told that be careful. I've been told that I will fail. I've been told that I won't succeed. I've been told that I don't have what it takes. And hearing those things makes somebody want to work even harder. For me, makes me want to be like, okay, actually, no, I'm going to prove you wrong and show you that I am absolutely capable. It's not about what other people think about you. It's about what you think of yourself. Because at the end of the day, you are going to be okay. And words are easier said than done, of course, but it is true, in my opinion.
Yeah, it definitely is. And thank you for saying that, because I feel like a lot of people today, especially in college, still struggle with that. And I've heard a lot of stories where people have a lot of past trauma and not allowing themselves to be open or trusting, or they want to be always
What's
in
going to happen if you're
control.
too open? Like, seriously, tell me what's going to happen if you're too open? You're going to get hurt. Yeah. But eventually you'll find the right people. Seriously, rejection is redirection.
Yeah. Can you talk about that? How did you get to that mindset? Well, you already established that, but can you talk about that a little bit more?
That quote comes from a Hobby Lobby sign that lives rent-free in my head. Straight from a Hobby Lobby sign. But it struck me. Like, have you ever just looked at something and thought, wow, that really hit me? There's a Bible verse. I'm a religious person. I love God. I love my faith.
Yes.
And there's a quote, and of course I'm on the spot now. I think it might be Ephesians. I could be wrong, where they talk about turning your heart of stone soft. That's the power of Jesus, what God can do.
Yeah.
And that's something I live by. I never, ever, ever want to be that cold, dismissive, rejective person. I want to have an open mind. I want to be kind. And I want to let people know whenever they talk to me, they're getting my attention and a person who wants to listen.
Yeah, that is so powerful. And I love that Bible verse. And I also, they already know, I love God so much. And there is a lot of quotes like that you're just like, that's going to live rent free in my head. So that making sure your heart is like in check in a way, put it in a slang type of way.
Put your heart in check.
Put your heart in check. It's so important, because sometimes we can easily be like, no, I'm just gonna like block everything out and just be very dismissive. But you're also blocking out a lot of good things, you know? You're blocking out trust. You're blocking out even like loving your neighbor, loving your friends. And I think that's so important what you just said.
Fear of rejection. Seriously, it can be the littlest things.
Yeah, sometimes like fear of rejection also kind of turns into peer pressure.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that is so small yet so effective, and sadly in that way. But turning into more of your story, would you like to share anything more, like maybe an advice for someone that could be struggling and doesn't know what to do based off your experience in life? Can you maybe share something?
Every single morning whenever I wake up, and this is going to sound, I don't know how this will sound, but every single morning I wake up, I say, okay, thank you, God, for another day. Let's do this. And then my feet go up, and then I get out of bed, and it wakes me up real quick. And every night whenever I lay down to bed, I say, okay, this is what's on my mind, God. This is what's going on. And it kind of helps me feel at peace a little bit. So for me personally, what works is my faith. Also having a mindset that we are on a floating rock in the middle of space. The world could end any minute. At least go out with a good attitude. I'm so serious. At least,
that's good.
I mean, how do you want to be known? How do you want to be perceived whenever 40 years from now and somebody around this area hears your name? How would you want them to think about you? And that starts now. It starts with how you uphold yourself. No matter what age you are, you can always change it, of course, if you had a rough young adulthood or anything like that. You always just try to be the best version of yourself that you can be. And I'm not saying it's easy. It's not. There are days where you are kind of rude and kind of mean, and everybody drives you crazy.
But every day you choose to be your best self.
Yeah,
right?
Just try to see the good in things. Even if it's as weird as, okay, I turned the shower faucet on today and the water got a lot hotter than normal. That's just something as easy as that.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you start seeing a trend in things. It's like a domino effect. You start with a little, and it ends up going with the big.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for that.
I feel like, was that word salad?
Yeah. That was a lot of wisdom at the same time. And I just stopped and just listened, because sometimes we get this misconception that we have to have it all figured out, and we always have to be on our best attitude, and we always have to do this and this and that. But listening to your story kind of was captivating in a way that we don't have to have it all figured out. We just have to live it day by day and just be sure we are living our legacy now, right? Instead of like, oh, in a couple years I'll do this, but why not do it now? Which is what you just said, which was amazing. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for talking to me. You're so nice.
Thank you.
I always see you at work, and then I'm just like, I wish I could talk to her more, because we're all in our own little worlds.
Yeah, it's so hard to do it at work though, but we'll get to it.
Yes.
Thank you guys for tuning in. See you in the next time. If you joined us today, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs some little inspiration. We'll be back next week for another incredible story. Until then, keep listening, keep learning, keep embracing the stories that are all around us. Thanks for tuning in to My Story Podcast.